Hello, I'm David. I'm one of the designers of Laboratory Mayhem, and I'm here with Andrew.
That's me. I'm Andrew. I'm another one of the designers of Laboratory Mayhem.
And we're here to show you how to play the game. So we're going to play a few turns and explain what we're doing, and within 5 minutes or so of watching this video, we hope that you'd be ready to play yourselves.
Yeah, this video should teach you all the basics, just give you everything you need to know to have a good time.
Alright, so the first thing that you do when you start a game of Laboratory Mayhem is you pull your starter familiar out of your deck.
So just take a look through your deck. This is very convenient. It'll look like this. You'll see the starter familiar text right there. That's a great cue for you as to what the starter familiar is. And it will start in play. Here's an example from the Naturalism deck from David. It will start in play. The familiar's goal or objective, it helps you rummage about your laboratory, finding new things for you to use.
All right, so then you draw 7 cards to start the game. And the remaining cards here are your laboratory. The way you're going to win the game is by attacking your opponent's laboratory and destroying the entire laboratory by sort of, as you do damage to their laboratory, the cards are taken off of the laboratory, like that. As you'll see soon enough when I get to Andrew's lab.
Yes. Or maybe I'll beat him to the punch. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, so you want to go first?
I think I will. So first thing you do, when you're going first, normally you draw a card at the beginning of your turn, but when you're going first, you skip that. If you have a familiar, you also rummage, and what that means is you draw a card, and then discard a card from your hand. So I will discard 1 card, and then make another card a room. You need to make it once per turn. You may turn 1 card from your hand and play it face down as an empty room like so. You need this in order to use your reagents, which are these little things upside down at the bottom of the card here. These are used to pay for the costs of cards up there.
Yeah, there's 3 ways to play any card, in other words. One way is you play it face down as a room, as he's done. Another way is you can play it as a reagent to assemble other things. And a third way is you can pay the cost on the card and play it for what the main rules text says. Do you have anything on the first turn?
I actually do not have anything on the first turn, so this just simply goes to waste.
Excellent.
Reagents, after used, generally go back to your scrap heap, the discard pile. At the end of your turn, simply pass it along to your opponent.
All right. So since it's not the first turn of the game, I get to draw 1 card, and then I get to draw a second card for the rummage, and then I have to pick 1 card to throw away. Now, one of the things that you'll be thinking about when you're starting the game is you'll be wondering, what cards should I use as reagents, what cards should I use as rooms, and what cards should I be trying to play? So when I look at my hand here, when I'm trying to pick my reagent, I don't even care so much about all the complicated rules and how strong or weak the card is. What I'm really looking for is a reagent that is 1 of n and recyclable. So this is an option. This one's not really an option because it just gives you a colorless one. This one doesn't recycle. It doesn't have this little white symbol. So since it doesn't recycle, it's not a good option. This one again is not N. Nope. So I've got these 3 options to use as my reagent. That's crucial. I'll probably end up having to use all 3 of these as reagents, is my thought. So I'll throw this one away since I have 2 of it. And as you go, you'll figure out how to do this. Now, I have to choose something to play as a room. Now, I have the option, I could assemble 1 servant here. I would pay 1. You can only put 1 reagent in a room, and you're only able to play 1 room per turn. So I can only play something that costs 1 right now. And I could assemble this, but since I'm short on good reagents, I'm actually going to have to save this guy to be a reagent and not play him this turn. So it's important to realize that rooms and reagents also fulfill a role in the game, and they're not wasted. It's a good use of a card too. So this guy's probably reserved to become a reagent next turn, and so I don't play him. I just pass to Andrew.
Okay, now back onto my turn. I'll draw a card, and then the second one from the rummage. Draw and discard. Why don't I... Oh, that's somewhat hard, but I'll discard one there. I'm following David's advice looking at recyclable reagents. Because when you see this little recyclable icon, it means after you use it to play a card, it goes right back in your scrap heap. And so you can keep using it again and again for your turns. In contrast, if we look at this card, this does not have the recyclable icon. I'm just elaborating on what David said earlier. These are a one-time use. As you can see, this one, it gives you 2 reagents. So it lets you play something a turn earlier than normal, but it's a one-time use. So after you use it, it's gone. Now proceeding on with my turn, I once again follow David's advice. I'm going to take a fairly weak card with a not great reagent and turn it into a room. And going on from there, I'll get my 2 reagents just like that. I'll use them to play Destructive Experiment.
Ooh,
fun little thing.
A lot of stuff here.
Indeed. So let's go through it bit by bit. First, the boring part. The somewhat boring part is the precursor. When I assemble this, I will reveal the top card of my laboratory. And if it shares a discipline with this card, in this case, if it's a toxicology card as well, then I get to draw this card. So I just got to draw this big little beast here, the Nether Mollymongo. Fun stuff.
Yep.
One of the best servants in this deck.
Yeah.
Have fun playing him.
A strong, weak beast.
Weak beast, did you say?
Well, you called him small, little big, so I called him strong, weak.
And now onto the more exciting part of the Destructive Experiment. I'm going to do 4 damage to David's laboratory.
So now you get to see how damage works. No wonder he thought he would get to my lab first. All right, so I'm going to take 4 damage. I have no way to defend that. It just comes as a spell. So I take 1, 2, yes, 3, no, 4. All right, and now you'll see, like Andrew mentioned, that I've got some double reagents, one-time use double reagents in my scrap heap. So,
and one last bit, I had to take 1 damage to myself from the Destructive Experiment.
There it is.
But overall, I'm happy to be doing more damage to David. After all, you need to do damage to the opponent's laboratory to win the game. But that is my turn, so over on to David.
I'm not depressed either because I know that I can get some use out of these double reagents. So this early in the game, it's not the end of the world to sustain some damage. There's definitely a good side to it. So I draw 1 card normally, and then I draw a second card from him. Now I have to discard a card. I will discard a Nourishing Hyphae, a recyclable one. I'm going to be using these 2 doubles, and eventually I'll probably want 4 or 5 singles. And then I will play a room with a card which I don't think is going to be very useful to me now. And now I will take advantage of the double reagents. So you'll get to see what one-time use reagents look like. I'll play 2 of them. So I ramp straight up from 4. See?
Uh-oh.
Typically, having 2 rooms would limit you to having like 2 resources probably and assemble something that costs 2, like what Andrew played costs 2. But I'm going to have the advantage of playing something more expensive here. And I'm going to get 4 resources with only 2 rooms and play the Glenkeeper. And the Glenkeeper costs 4, so you know he's really cool and strong. These 2 resources are one-time use, so they now get vaporized, which means I'm going to turn them face down over here.
Again, they're just completely gone from the game now.
Now, I still have enough scraps in my scrap heap because of the damage I've sustained to still be able to, fill up my rooms in the next turn or 2. So it's fine for me to have that burned, I guess. And now I'm also going to bring out my familiar. And you can switch as soon as you have another servant, you can switch which servant is your familiar, either during the alchemy step of the game or the end step of the game.
The alchemy step is when you're usually playing your cards. It's when you're getting your resources and playing your cards. And the end step is, as it says, it's at the end of your turn.
So any servant can fill this spot here, and if this guy were more powerful than him, then a typical move would be I'd bring him out to use him and put him here as my familiar. In this case, however, I'm going to forego having a familiar because I've already taken this damage, and I'm going to bring him out and have him out. So they're both going to be out there to work for me now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Strong start from David. Well, let's go with my turn. Again, the normal first draw from the turn, and then the second one thanks to my familiar. Discard one card.
Excellent.
And what should I do? This is a tough pick.
He'd like to play the Nethermine Imago, but he doesn't have the resources
so
for
difficult. I would like to play it, yes. Okay, well, I'll make another room. And then, why don't I be funny? I'm going to use my little vaporized reagent as well. Get 4 total.
So he could have gotten 3 if he used a recyclable one, or he could choose to use 4 this particular turn.
But I'm going to use 4. First off, it's gone.
Yep.
First off, I'm going to lead off with another destructive experiment.
Ouch. All right.
So, first the precursor.
Yep.
My bonus card is the Wilting Malignancy.
Not bad.
Pretty useful, and we'll be seeing more of this card very shortly. Very shortly.
Okay.
I do have 2 reagents
Now
left
I'll take
over.
my damage.
Yes, 4 damage to you.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I got a couple doubles out
And
of
then
it.
1 to me as well.
Okay.
And now that extra 2, I will play that convenient little Wilting Malignancy. So this is a transmutation. These transmutations almost always modify a servant. In this case, this is a harmful little transmutation, and I'll use it to harm the Glenkeeper and make him slowly wither away. Because at the end of each turn, or at the end of each of my turns, I put a -1, -1, -1, -1 counter on the servant. So it will weaken all the stats. Stats will not go below 0, as you see here. But eventually, basically what this means, eventually the servant will die.
Now,
We'll explain stats later.
most transmutations are basically edits on servants, and most of them make your servants stronger, but a toxicologist will tend to make the other person's servants weaker. Now,
Indeed.
for counting the -1, -1, since it's probably the end of your turn now.
Yeah, indeed. Actually,
You're going to bring him out?
Because I have a lot of reagents in my scrap as well, I will also bring out my familiar.
Oh, there's a whole thing there.
And one other thing that you can do at the end of your turn is, this is a good time to talk about combat. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to dispatch my servant to essentially hide him. Because in Laboratory Mayhem, during combat, servants first, as David alluded to in the very beginning of the game, one way to deal damage to your opponent's laboratory is to have your servants attack it directly. But to do that, that's obviously bad for your opponent. And your opponent is going to put some guys in your way, like other servants. So first, servants will have to attack.
These 2 servants, for example, are
other
right now
servants.
defending my laboratory.
Yes.
Where they're stationed.
Yes. So first, servants have to attack any servants that are defending, and then other servants get to attack the laboratory. Now, I don't want David's servants to be able to attack and kill my servant, so I'm going to hide him. I'm going to send him away from the laboratory.
Alright, so at the end of Andrew's turn, this is going to put a -1 counter on my Glenkeeper. And now I'll start my turn. I will only draw 1 card. I will not draw and discard, because I don't have a familiar. I'll play a room, and now I can get some resources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That looks good. Alright, so here's how I'm going to get my resources. And this guy's ability, I'm going to dispatch him, use a dispatch ability, and he's going to add NN to my resources. So I've got NN, N, 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 and 2 of no color, so that's a total of 7. These get vaporized as before. Bring out a Tundra Emissary and an Urban Leshy.
Oh my.
Alright. This is a strong rare with a complicated ability. Now I'm going to go to my attack phase. These servants were just played this turn, so I can't attack with them. They would have to have a special ability to attack or use abilities like this the turn they're played. So I'm going to attack Andrew with just this. Now, if he had a defender servant, I have to attack it. He doesn't, so I'll attack to your lab.
And do 1 damage to me.
Do 1 damage.
As indicated
That's
by
my
that first
vandalism.
number.
1 damage. And comes here. I'll leave these 2 guys to defend my lab, and it's your turn.
Okay. Well, let's recall the familiar after I've dispatched him. He comes back to my lab, and I can have him do things like attack, or use his special ability. I'm going to draw only 1 card. Again, I do not have a familiar, so do not get that extra draw and discard. I will make a room. And now seems like a good time. This should be 5 in total. 2, 3, 4, 5. To play the Nether Mago.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a one-time use, so it's gone. And here he is.
All right.
Ready to play. A big little beast.
Let's fight, big little beast.
Okay. I'm simply gonna hide my Burrowing Grub and pass it over to you.
All right. All right. So at the end of his turn, we have to remember to keep the disease advancing on this poor Glenkeeper.
Yep.
He's now effectively a 0/0/3.
Wilting away as planned.
Yeah. Play a card. That's room. And then I get three resources. Play my first Nexus of the game.
Ooh.
So maybe I should show this card. A Nexus is basically like a dedicated area in your lab which has some kind of lasting, permanent, or activated effect that keeps going on. So this one is designed to make all my servants healthier. It gives them all 2 extra life. Okay. Since it's in my lab, if he breaks through my defenses, he can destroy Nexuses instead of destroying the lab if he wants. That'll be his choice. And that costs 2 and I used 3, so my third is used to play another little guy. Okay, and now I'm going to go for my combat. So now you guys are finally going to see a more complicated combat situation, and then we'll be done. You'll be ready to play. So
Awesome.
Here are my options for attacking. This guy cannot attack. I just played him.
Correct.
All these guys could attack. So if I'm really hell-bent on destroying his laboratory, one attacking option is not to send every single servant at his laboratory. I have to attack this guy with at least one guy.
That's right.
So I have to occupy this guy, then I can choose to send further guys on there. I could also gang up on this guy if he's really offended me and I just want to kill him. I could send all 4 guys to come attack him. Not a fair fight, but perfectly fair in our game.
Yes.
So the 2 main options that I would tend to consider in an actual game here would be to take my worst guy, throw him away, and let my other 3 guys break through and attack the laboratory. If we were in a racing situation where we were each about to die and run out of cards in laboratory, that's what I would do. Since we're still a little bit earlier than that, I'm going to focus on killing this guy. So I'm going to attack him with 2 servants.
Okay.
Like this. And I'm going to attack your lab for 1 with that
Okay.
guy.
Sure. So this is the easy part. I'll just take the 1 damage right now. And it looks like it's caught an Imago. Unfortunate for me. Now, as for this combat, the servants, you see the second number here in the red, the little fist icon. Whoops.
You want to turn them this way.
That is their combat statistic. That represents how much damage the servant would do to another servant. Okay.
Let's do it one more time. It's the red or something.
In the red icon here, the number in the red box, that represents the servant's combat statistic, and represents how much damage the servant would do to another servant when in a fight just like this. So you can see the emissary will do 4 damage to my poor Imago. The Leshy will contribute another 3 damage. And my Imago will do 4 damage back, divided however I choose among those 2 servants. Because they're all in one big fight. So, other things to note are the armor and life statistic down here. Servants obviously have amount of life. When this number reaches 0, the servant dies in a scented scrap heap. Armor represents how much damage is prevented in combat each turn. So, if David wants to kill the Imago, he effectively has to do 6 damage. At least 6 damage to my Imago. As we just noted, 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 is greater than 6. He's going to kick the bucket.
Yeah.
But before that, he will do 4 damage, and I would choose to do 4 damage to the Urban Leshy.
Four damage. He's got 1 life left, basically. But because of my Nexus, as long as the Nexus is up, he's got 3 life.
That's right.
So it gets pretty hard to kill my guys if I get a lot of these out. Alright, my guys come back to my side, but they're out doing their stuff. These two defend my lab.
Okay.
And I think we can stop there. You should be able to play cards, use your familiar, draw cards, rummage, attack, defend.
Cause some mayhem.
And for those who are curious, you can watch the next video to see how a game of Laboratory Mayhem might end. We're going to play through a couple turns quickly here and then finish up this game. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
What were you thinking about that?
Well, I'm going to lean over.
Have fun, everyone. Stay tuned if you do want to see the end of this game. In the meantime, at home, have fun causing some mayhem.